Hello and welcome back to another edition of Indiepocalypse Radio, your kind of post-con hangout / interview show with game developers around the wider world and people associated with games and all sorts of games-related stuff and other art stuff. And it's just people I want to talk to, but it's often easy. Anyway, I'm your host of the aforementioned show, Andrew, the editor, etc. of Indiepocalypse, the long-running alternative anthology of games. We've got a trio of guests here today. Do I have a link to this? I want to answer a burning question very quickly. I very rarely address questions, but when people say, "Where can I find the music?" I'm like, let me tell you, I want to show people to that. I do have a link to it that I update usually like either on Monday or on what is it? Next Friday. I keep forgetting. I got to remind myself to do AMV Night again one of these days, but I just get lazy. Speaking of no longer getting lazy, here we go. I don't think that has a short URL, but we are here with our first guest, who you may know from their work with Mangotronics and the Mangotronics Employment Pack, among other things. It's Matt. Matt, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Just popping in and hanging out on a relaxing Saturday and going, oh, what are these itch notifications as I open your page?
99 plus of them.
No, 5. 99 plus would be way too many.
I was close.
There's a sale and I didn't even advertise it. Doing important stuff, staying truly on top of things. But that all aside, I have a question for you. A common lead-off Indiepocalypse question, which is semi-related, though not a contributor. I will say this is a semi-related question, which is because you are a contributor to the sub-market, one of the many sub-markets of Indiepocalypse, that I maintain, which is, hey, how did you find Indiepocalypse?
Yes. Oh boy, I can't remember exactly. I think it was a while ago. Wasn't it like in 21 or 22, I think, for like issue 12 or 16, or I don't remember if it was like an itch algorithm thing or what, but
I don't remember either. That's why I need to know these questions.
I
don't actually need to know. It's always a curiosity thing, because you were in part of the initial failed attempt at a store, which I used postcards on with like little codes on the back that people were not especially interested in. I found.
Oh, I don't know if I remember those, but I had QR codes.
I used itch codes or Steam codes or whatever people provided. And I printed them on the back of postcards. I think you were part of that. Cool. Now it's been so long ago that I don't remember, but I thought anyhow.
Yeah. It might have even been from just like a random post that I was looking for anthologies of some sort around that same time that I was doing the employment collection thing. I was like, what other indie anthology things are there out in the world? And
right.
I think I might have just seen a post, at the time it was Twitter, right? So,
yes. Now it's of course X.
Yeah. It's only been a couple years, but it's like forever ago in indie game terms.
But speaking of, that's there's perhaps a wider conversation of indie game terms, because there's the games just so easily forgotten. When maybe they ought to be less so, that the lifespan of games ought to be much longer. But
of course,
that all said. If people are unfamiliar, what is the Mangotronics Employment Collection?
Yeah, it's basically a themed collection around like the horrors of modern day work, contract work, etc. That I think I recruited a lot of people that had small, short games on itch mainly. There were a couple people from like off of itch, but I was kind of my first attempt at like scouting and creating an anthology that was just like nine-ish games by 6 or 7 different developers, and wrapped it all up together and made a launcher for it. So I didn't personally make a game for it, just the launcher, but
Right.
I put it on Steam. It, it sold some copies, and people got their $25 after a year for it.
Yeah, that's the dream, that eternal $25. I think I just sent you $25 very recently, yesterday.
Oh yeah. Thank you.
So
nice.
It continues to rake in dollars of the 25 variety into 2025.
Every single year, just steady passive income, living the dream.
Yeah. Passive income means income. It just means any kind of income, right? It doesn't mean livable income. It just means, money I didn't do anything for.
Yeah, but then there's also that I'm getting into the weeds already, but yeah, it's like, well, you kind of did have to do a lot for it, actually.
Right.
The foundation.
All those passive income guys say, write a story, write a novel, and put it on Amazon.
Yeah, and in the case of this one, with either Indiepocalypse Monthly or with the other anthologies, it's like, everyone spent like maybe a game jam weekend or maybe a year or more on their game that's in the collection. And it's like, was that, do you charge like contract wages? Did you work like 1,000 hours on it? Who knows?
Right. And then, it's not like I just sit around and just let the money just kind of flops in. I go to a bunch of events. I hit the road often. So it is like, but for a lot of, the people now, like once it's in the rear view, then it's all passive, as those $8-9 kind of start to roll in every 6 to 9 months,
It is nice. It's nice to see that little notification from Steam where it's like, oh, you didn't make enough money this month. We're not going to send you anything. And then, at some point it happens and you're like, jackpot. Oh,
right.
$100. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then you're like, I have to give 90 of these dollars to other people.
Yeah. And then also taxes and things. So, yeah.
Right, and then
all the fun things that indie game devs like to do.
I love to pay. I love to organize taxes.
I mean, you should definitely pay your taxes. I'm not advocating for not paying taxes, but yes, officially.
I get money back when I do that, when I file my taxes, because the government feels bad for me because of how much money I don't make.
Yeah, that's always good. Question mark. I guess
it's about finding the silver lining of it,
It's a nice little bonus check from Uncle Sam. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, oh, you do care about small business, and my small business that's so small it made no money.
It's like oh gosh, I was just thinking about trying to keep track of all of my taxes.
Right.
The LLC, you need to have that pass-through LLC for tax harvesting, because that's totally legal, and that is what is encouraged.
Right. All constant maneuvering or whatever.
Yeah, it's totally it actually is just normal.
Yeah, it turns out money's weird. Capitalism is a weird thing that requires a bunch of like, well, because it's built for the wealthy to succeed. So it's like you got to play that game. However, to whatever extent you can play that game, you got to play that game to get to if you want to reap the benefits.
It really is the metagame of like game dev, because the those $3 million indie dev studios that cannot survive with less than three or whatever $5 million per game quote gotta have their tax lawyers.
That is. It's just always something, that is a great quote. That is a good reminder of just kind of, generally speaking, I think how out of touch with the medium people who make games are, or anyone who has like a whiff of industry on them is.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, or more that, as I said last week, they're not talking about games. They're talking about commercial video games, not actually talking about like the art form. Because
True, yeah.
Of course you can make games. You can make games on $0. Anyone knows that.
Yeah,
you can make
like 90% of itch,
possibly. Yeah, and most of them are probably better than not most of them, but you know what I mean. A good percentage of them are better than any $3 million game. They're more interesting.
I love that about itch mostly. That's something that I think more people are discovering. As we have like reached peak saturation of grandma's playing Wii Sports and then discovering all these games on itch that are like more in that art sphere. Yeah,
it is. It's like it's swinging back around. Well, because people get tired of things, People are like, this is, the exhaustion of kind of commercial design kind of starts increasingly drags on you.
Yeah.
Of the feel like, oh well, this thing is built to take my time.
Yeah. It seems like more people are, I don't know, like waking up. I guess I don't want to. It's all anecdotal, right? But like from the circles that I've seen on like Blue Sky and stuff, and the sentiment is kind of shifting towards that. Yeah.
Right. I think you would have to find a very curated version of it on Blue Sky to find people doing that.
Yeah.
It feels like the social media user, so to speak, is still kind of trapped within the cycle of like paying attention, like, oh, I gotta care about whatever game just came out or whatever,
Right. Yeah, that reminds me of I can't remember the guest's name that was on like a good amount of episodes ago, but had the video on. The title was like, "We're celebrating the wrong indie games," and yeah, just kind of that mentality. I think like the social media rewards that attention to the big games, right? Like Dave the Diver or whatever, which
right.
I think that was also yeah. Therefore it's indie. So
yes, yeah. That I was like, wait a minute, that was a while ago.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think that was even in the video too.
Yes.
That was like the main, the spark of the conversation was this game specifically.
Right.
It was like, was that 2023 Game Awards or something? Yeah.
Could not tell you at this point, but it is like, it is part of, how it all works. It's why I'm starting to, just open up paying people to write about games within Indiepocalypse. Because at some point, the only way to start those conversations or to get that coverage and writing about them is just to literally pay for it, to become state news.
I mean, we know that what was it? There was a big number recently that was put out about how many game journalists there are now compared to a few years ago,
Sure,
and it's just
but even that,
less
like,
and less.
even in the bulk, most of them are still not like arts journalists or whatever.
Right.
The kind of the equivalent of people who would go to, like, local shows if for bands and stuff like that. It was still very like, 80% of them were probably still making like listicles.
Yeah, there's definitely some like surface level critique that happens a lot, but it's really hard to find like actual thoughtful, you know, consideration of like the game as an art form and the game itself instead of like comparisons to everything and
Right.
numbers and whatnot.
And then it's often just kind of like has to be about Pokemon or whatever. Because either I think mostly because that's what you want people to write about, or you want people to read your stuff or watch your videos, so it's got to be about the thing that people know. But also, games culture funnels people into small little camps of like the biggest releases.
Yeah, I'm just thinking back to Dave the Diver again as that example. It's like, what was it back when like the indie games summer thing for Xbox 360 happened and we had like Fez and Meat Boy and
Right.
Braid.
Summer of Arcade.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, that was like one of those big formative moments where we actually had like eyes on indie games, right? Just kind of like it takes, unfortunately, like you're saying, I guess like it takes a big moneyed institution to push people in that direction most of the time.
Right, or not necessarily even a big moneyed institution, but like you gotta. I say this from experience of doing this 6 years. You just gotta eat shit, like you're not gonna do numbers or whatever, and then you just hope that your work in the long run pays off.
That is why I appreciate like the Indiepocalypse sphere to sort of foster those conversations. And we've got like deep hell and indie hell zone and a lot of good smaller critical. Yeah,
I'm hoping some of those people would be like, Andrew's offering money for people to write about games. Yeah, sounds good to me. Because the other thing is, I want to also support the writers who want to write that stuff. I got a lot of, early on got a lot of, or you would hear a lot of, the editors, we'd love to write about X, Y, but, our editors say, we can't do this. And then, with increasing independence of sites, you don't see them shifting into all those things the editors said they couldn't do anymore. It's still talking about, like, whatever the big games of the month are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is, it's only for me as a particular kind of freak that like is more interested in people like, I don't know, being more curious. And I think the thing I think about in this is it's very reactive style. Like it's not very proactive style of criticism. Like it's having an opinion on things which are already within the culture rather than being the one that is guiding and shaping the culture.
Yeah. It's a difficult problem / situation to find a solution to.
Right, and I don't think I'm gonna find any kind of solution. I'm kind of basically do not worry about it. Because it's like, dependent on people catering to my particular niche interest. So I'm like, I just don't worry about it.
Yeah. You just got to keep doing the episodes and the issues and
right.
then someone will go, oh, I like that, and then just like how the big AAA studios go, oh, I like that mechanic from that niche indie game, that's ours now.
Right, right. And then, all of it just doesn't really. I mean, this is, also a kind of luxurious opinion I get from, once again, 6 years of basically not doing well. You go, you just kind of get used to it.
Well, I mean, it's still happening.
Yeah.
I mean, success is a spectrum too, right?
Yes.
So,
Right. It's only like a lack of like I would never. I am past the point of considering it to be unsuccessful. Because it exists as intended and has continued to exist as intended for this long. It is successful by all merits other than financial. But most things aren't financially successful, Most things come and go before. I think I was going to email someone, I think about the show or about something else, and their company specific domain bounced back. So I'm like, oh, they're done, I guess.
No. Whoops.
And things come and go forever, but the scrappy little thing that makes no money just kind of sticks around forever because it also requires no money to continue living.
Yeah, things come and go, and then they're forever immortalized on archive.org.
Yes, and then where nobody will ever look at them. And that's the important part. Like, if something is archived if something is on archive.org, but no one ever talks about it, it's still technically archived. Like, I think culture is part of archiving, like a crucial part of archiving, not just having a bunch of stuff on a hard drive.
Yeah.
Somewhere. That's that's why oral tradition is archiving, but even more so is some oral tradition more archiving because it's better culturally spread rather than a million things on a hard drive with 0 views.
Coming back around to the cultural relevant loop of how people discover things. There's a curation aspect to the. There's a vocal history curation too, right. I suppose, in that way.
Right, and that is part of I think if you want the idea of you want to be, if you're curating especially, you want to be cultivating tastes, not like reinforcing that you have good tastes.
Yeah, you let people decide if they like it or not, right? And then they become the critics.
More, I mean that your intent is to bring people new works rather than just saying, "Look at me, I have all these really popular things that I like."
Oh, right.
That is a thing that I am, very intently focused on. Of not just because there are some it's superstar types. You could have 80 games or whatever that could just all be in every single one. You could just have the same people over and over again. But what does that get you?
There's a hard line to walk between what you personally like and also what your platform is offering. Yeah.
Right. And then also, liking a lot of things is very handy. But speaking of liking things, Matt, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
What's your favorite type of rock?
The rock question.
Yes.
I don't know. I guess I'll do both things. I'll do the music type of rock, I guess, is like outsider. I like outsider music and rock.
Okay.
Music. I've been listening to the noise boxes recently. Some of those noise box artists.
Okay.
And then for the mineral rock, I would say maybe a good sandstone, because sandstone can be shaped into a lot of different cool things.
What is?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
okay.
let's do that.
This guy, yes. Both acceptable rock answers, and mostly because it's not unacceptable rock answers, except I guess if you named a thing that wasn't a rock. And second question, do you have a favorite Toho character?
Oh, character. I don't really. I don't know. I don't want to say I like them all.
Yeah, because that just sounds like you're lying.
I'm like, whatever character it was in the last one that I played.
Okay.
It was so I played Toho Shiriden Subterranean Animism, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Who's the character in that one? Kind of like she's got like a red dress, like shrine maiden, like more traditional.
Oh, yes, that's the one. That is whatever
The Toho character.
That is the Toho. You selected the Toho. That
nice.
Now put on the moment. I'm like, why can't I name the obvious front running Toho character that is the main Toho character from the very beginning?
Yeah,
And
you know the one I'm talking about.
Found it. I had to spin around all the Tohos in my brain for a second. Reimu, she's been brought up so infrequently as the favorites that it took me like, oh, no one ever mentions her, and then I lost, buried in 1,000 clown pieces.
There are so many Toho characters, I guess.
Yes. With that said, Matt, that's the end of our segment. Obviously, because that's what those questions represent. So thanks for joining me here today. We're going to go on break, and we'll be back in about how long is this going to take? Probably about 2 minutes 55 seconds.
Interesting.
Yeah. Hello, welcome back to Indiepocalypse Radio. That was of course Apes of State with Plate Glass Apology. We're back here with our next guest, who you may know from issue 67 of Indiepocalypse, where it goes on. It's Alex Carey. Alex, how are you doing today?
Doing all right. I'm still finishing my first cup of tea of the day, so I don't think my day has officially started just yet.
Okay.
There's like a threshold of caffeine that has to be hit before I am a fully realized human being.
Yes, that is. I've gotten lucky in that I never really liked coffee, and then I never got used to it. And then I was like, oh, I'm doing fine now. And I just, so it's actually very, if I don't sleep, and then I have, or don't sleep well, I should say, rather, I'm like, oh, I can just stop by the convenience store and get, one of those Starbucks things, and I'm wired for the rest of the day.
Yeah, that definitely is. As we get rolling here, I just want to say my internet's been a bit up and down today, so if I just randomly drop, that might happen.
No, that's fine.
Power over this.
Yes, we've got. Listen, I think we've got 20 minutes. We can make that. We can power through. Hopefully, at the very least, that 20 minutes. I think it'll probably be fine. Honestly, you've been good so far. Unless this was your good 40-minute stretch, and then we're gonna hit the rough patch. But we'll see. If I just start talking exclusively to myself, you'll figure out why. But as a contributor, I got to ask you. You found it at some point, Alex. How did you find Indiepocalypse?
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. So I did a game jam with a friend of mine where we made a little interactive fiction game thing for the Spring Thing Festival this year. And then as part of participating in that, there was raffle prizes. And as part of those raffle prizes, someone gave a copy of the Indiepocalypse collection of cool stuff. And I was like, this is so sick. This rules. How have I never heard of this? And then I told all my friends about it, and it turns out over half of them knew about it, and I was just the one being left out.
Right. I forgot about that. I remember doing that now, and I'm like, all right, I did do that.
Yeah, it ruled. You got a someone on board. I don't know. I really appreciate what you're cooking up with, like, I don't know. I really struggle with, like, where to put the labor I have.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I really appreciate, like, I want to play weirder, smaller, fucking weird little games.
Yeah.
But I don't have the spoons to dive into the, the real gritty corners of itch to find the good shit. So yeah, I really appreciate what you're doing, like having a perspective and finding cool stuff and sharing it. So
Well, thank you. No, I mean, this is like that is part of why I made it myself, is thinking, well, how do people find this stuff? Like if you have like a short, like, especially if you have a short game, there was a small window, I think. Speaking of Some of Arcade, post Some of Arcade, when post Indie Game the movie, when indie game, quote unquote,
yep.
was like a thing, but it wasn't calcified into the very commercial version we have now. So you had people like, okay, well, we need to have indie game coverage. Or people would write up like little blog, like a weekly blog about indie games, but then we didn't have Dave the Divers or 8,000 Stardew clones that would be be those games. So people would like find Game Jam games or like browser games or Twine games or things that were like outside of the usual scope of like what video games or what commercial games are, because like those were indie games.
Yeah, I think the term indie has been broadened so much to not be as helpful or to kind of be meaningless at this point.
Yes. Yeah,
where I can't remember what book I read where they pitched the idea of like, we need to stop calling it indie games and start calling it punk games.
right.
And I was like, yeah, I'm here for a rebrand. Let's light some shit on fire. Let's go.
Yeah, I lean towards the word like alternative all of the time, generally.
Yeah, see, perfect. Yes.
Or like I'll use other descriptors like that, because indie doesn't mean anything at this point.
No.
It's like most other things. It's kind of because to some degree, indie games don't have like a studio system, to work outside of in the same way that like maybe like
Yeah.
film would have.
Yeah, I feel like it's maybe the district. It's the storefronts instead of the studios.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I think I agree that we probably have more freedom, but also trying to have that discoverability and people finding your work is real tough, right? So I don't know if that's similar. Of like, the gatekeepers are still there; they're just in a different trench coat.
Yeah, it just changed like how it moved where the gates were, so to speak.
Yeah.
Or in some cases, whatever. Social media is the gate now, which is like
yeah. It's figuring out what the kids want to see on TikTok.
right.
That's the gatekeeper now, is making sure you can get them eyeballs to get the wish list numbers high enough. It's like, ugh.
Right,
I
because
don't want to do any of this.
Exactly, because what if your game just doesn't do that? Like most I don't think. I think the games that work on social media are a very small amount of like what games can do as a medium. So
I totally agree. Yeah.
that we would use that is extremely kind of like limited, and like and then like just algorithmic curation is just like terrible in general. And you should never let anything do that for you. It's just like, I don't want a computer telling me what I think I might like because I tried. I mentioned this on last show when we were talking, and I was talking to Nicole Shin, because we were down this road a lot. But I was like, imagine going into a record shop and you buy one prog album, and then the next time you go to the record shop, it's nothing but prog music.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, wait a minute, I like other stuff. Where'd all my choices go?
Yeah, miserable. Yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
like,
I have really tried to make a habit of just not engaging with a film or a show or a game until I have a flesh and blood human recommend that I try it.
yes, right there.
This system has worked great.
Yeah, right.
I watched less garbage, and it's like, oh, this is actually interesting and cool. And someone put in the effort to tell me that they like this, and that is really meaningful to me. And then I will put it on the big stack of stuff to consume.
Yeah, because that is like human recommendation. Because also, chances are you know who that human is, and you know what they like, and you know what their tastes are.
Yep.
And you know where they're like. It's very helpful. Like, it's helpful. Social media is helpful for, like, you know, reaching a lot of people at once. But I think there's like a deeper helpfulness to like the kind of like art passing around a friends group, you know.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I still think about of course, the seminal Master of the Flying Guillotine as we spread it around our friend group through On Demand, because one person saw it and was like, "Oh, you got to see this movie," and then it kept passing around. And I'm sure everyone has tons of their own little versions of that, you know.
Yeah, I think that was Slice and Dice for my like super nerdy tacticsy gamer friends.
Yeah.
We were just like, this shit rules. Everyone put it on your phone. Yeah.
Yeah, and then having like, because there are too many games for there to be a singular culture, you know, as is with all art, you know. But it often feels like people are pushing towards. There's often this push towards that sort of like singular. I think it's not even. I increasingly wonder how much of these things are just the tiny pocket of what social media is that like reinforces these things, and how much it's no longer identifiable if you are just like off social media. As I increasingly am, I'm like, oh, maybe this stuff doesn't exist. Maybe it's just a tiny pocket of people who are kind of like just producing content all day. They're working in the content mills.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Clocking in for their shift at the content mine.
Exactly. Yep. It's like, oh, I got to make sure a lot of people engage with me today. Got to get those good engagement numbers.
Yeah, I find interacting on social media in pretty much any form absolutely exhausting. So I do my damnedest to not.
It's a very weird way to do it. Like,
yeah.
Like, imagine, you know, I think of it as what if, you know, people think of it, the easy way to think of it is like there's 10,000 people in a room and they're all just shouting out loud hoping someone talks to them.
Yeah, it's screaming into the void and hoping that the void responds. Yeah.
Right, or that you peek into the void and go, "Oh, that's worth responding to."
Yep.
And it's just a very, very weird way to interact with people.
It is. Yep.
I mean, that's why I, of course, did the alternative of inventing a radio show so I can have long conversations with people. Everyone should just do that. Seems like a more practical solution.
This is great.
Yeah.
Everyone should have a radio show. I agree. Right. Did we just reinvent everyone should have a podcast?
Yes, but... No. Or more that they should invite me onto that so I can talk to them. I think plenty of them... Also, that's the other thing. I'm sure plenty of them exist. They just do not invite me onto them. So I have to make my own and invite other people onto it.
The secret tech.
But we've talked a lot about games. We've skirted around games, but I got to know... for people who... I know, of course. I should phrase it rather the other way around. For people who do not know... and unfamiliar, how would you describe It Goes On?
Oh, yeah. So, It Goes On was a game I made, I don't know, we're coming up on like 8 or 9 years ago now, which makes me feel very old.
Yeah.
That was a game I wanted to make around the idea of like disempowerment, or like, so I'm disabled. I use a power wheelchair for mobility, and I was living in an assisted living facility, which I like to refer to as being in disabled jail.
Right.
And that sucked. That was really hard for me. So I took a really long time, but I was able to move out into an apartment and live more independently. And I don't think at the time I knew this, but I made a game about processing some of the trauma around that.
Right.
So that's the thing. It's a little platformer. Yep.
But I mean that is the the charm and the beauty of games as an art form is that it is so much of us conveying ideas, sometimes even not realizing that we're doing that, in a way that it'd be hard to do sometimes, even like through just plain words. Like maybe we wouldn't have the words for them, or it doesn't feel right, being explained to someone straightforwardly.
Yeah, I had sort of thought about it as the idea of trying to use like mechanics as metaphors.
Right.
Like that was the thing, at least at the time, I was trying to do. At the risk of being hit with the big stick, I thought a lot about the verbs.
Yes, of course.
So, yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm really proud of how that game came together. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'd love to hear what people think about it, because I've had a broad range of I don't know, feedback about it that I think is really interesting. So people have feelings about it.
Yes.
I think is the sign of a thing that succeeded.
Yes.
To some degree.
Well, I think
not all of them positive.
I think it definitely but I think so. To talk about verbs, I think it engages with them meaningfully, rather than it being because it's essentially that is what the game is about. Like the verbiage of game design is interwoven throughout the entirety of the game. Like that is like the structure, the core of it. It is not. It's a game built from verbs, but verbs to reflect real life.
Yeah. So yeah, part of my flavor of disability is I get weaker all the time, and I have these like milestones where I lose the ability to do one thing or another.
Right.
And I think that was part of what I was trying to encapsulate in that game, is you used to be able to solve this problem this way, and now you can't. And part of what, at least my version of experiencing disability, is having to solve the same thing in a different way now.
Yes.
If that makes sense. So
yeah,
that game.
And that gets very effectively conveyed through the game of.
Oh, thanks.
Of you have to each time it resets, you have to kind of reset your thinking, and sometimes you come to a full stop and you have to think about and sometimes as the game goes on, before you hit the very end, you sort of know what's coming, but that doesn't make it easier. It's just I know next time I'm gonna not be able to do down or whatever.
Yep.
But it just means it's a thing you can anticipate, and then but it's also hard to because you don't know exactly what's going to be taken from you. You don't know how. You can't I'm going to solve. You can't sit in level 2 and then solve in loop 2 and solve loops 2 through 5 all at once.
Yep. 100%. You sort of know, once you see the pattern coming ahead, that doesn't mean you have the tools to solve it right now. Yep. And you sort of have to be patient and wait for it to happen, and then I think one of the things they really tried to tie in is like this idea for asking for help. I'm like, yeah, yeah, it sucks.
Right.
It's not fun.
Right. You want to be able to just like do things as you did, and then sometimes it's like you never, because you also never know, like there's like the reliance of not knowing when, if someone's going to be readily available,
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
But
For sure.
I think it, like, the game's an effective vehicle for that.
Oh, I really appreciate that. Thanks.
No,
Yeah,
no. This this project doesn't work without the games that I like a lot. I'm not just piling into a
throwing
bucket.
darts at a big board.
Right, right.
Cool itch stuff and see where they hit.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not basing things by their covers here.
Yeah. That would be a cool bundle, though, of just random, these had cool thumbnails bundle. That actually goes really hard. I'm just like, I wonder what these are. Who knows?
Right. That would be just like, yeah. That is for somebody else to do.
Yes. And there's some art project, like reading the book or judging the book by its cover bundle.
Yeah.
There's something fun there.
Right. Just like scrolling through and like or like even it's like a game jam even.
Yes.
Of things that are like you can submit games that already exist, but judges are only strictly able to judge them based on their covers alone.
Yeah.
And then so it says it's about getting the best cover, I guess.
Yeah, which I think is like, would be a really interesting, like which ones float to top? Is it literally just the most, saturated, over the top, piece of art, or is there a way to subvert that where you just like put a red square on a black background and somebody goes, well, this looks different than everything else, right? Like, I genuinely think this is an interesting idea.
Yeah, I'm gonna let this idea float around in the ether. I think that is a good idea for someone. I don't know what they're gonna do with it, but that's a good idea for someone to go out there and make that. I think even better, it's a jam that you can't make new games. You have to use your existing games.
Have to use your existing games. That's cool.
And the only thing you can change about them is their covers.
This is fun.
All right, but that said, speaking of, nope, never mind. Hey, I got a couple questions for you, Alex. Unrelated to this. What's your favorite type of rock?
I have a big love of igneous rocks.
Okay.
Little holes in them, made by volcano shit.
Yes.
It's a cool rock.
It is right, especially because they're also, they're not just everywhere either. You got to kind of need to be near a volcano to find them. Most people not around volcanoes. I don't think there are very many New England volcanoes around my parts. I don't think so. Let me see New England. Did we have one at some point? A new supervolcano as of 2018, so it's supposedly.
Oh, good.
We'll find out. Anyhow. And Toho, do you have a favorite Toho character?
Not that I can think of.
Perfect.
I don't know.
You don't have to. That's the beauty of that question, is you don't need to have an answer for it.
Yeah, no.
That is probably one of the higher selected characters of, I don't know.
I don't know, yeah.
Well, perfect. Alex, thank you for joining me here today. We are going to take a quicker, much faster break, a break of about 1 minute and 37 seconds. Hello and welcome back to Indiepocalypse Radio. That was the Matt Kurz one with I Don't Fucking Believe It. We are here with our final guest of the show, who you may know from issue, I think it was 68. It was all these recent ones kind of. Yes, it was 68 with Third Crypt. It's James Morwood. James, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm good, thank you. Happy to be here.
Sorry, I was drinking water while you introduced yourself. So first question, you've seen two other people answer it. I got to ask you now. Hey, how'd you find Indiepocalypse?
I definitely saw the first issue. So what was that, like 5 or 6 years ago?
Yeah, yes, almost 6 years ago. It'll be 6 years ago in February.
Wow. So yeah, I got the first issue,
Oh.
and then I blinked, and then it was like issue 60, and I met you, Amaze, in Berlin,
Yes,
and
that is what
discovered.
That is what I thought, because I have people in the out there listening were not privy to our break conversation, but I was referencing a CD I had on top of my computer for the game Asterism that has a little thing in here. It says special thanks to James Morwood. I'm like, that couldn't be the same one, could it? I'm like, have we talked before? Yeah. And the answer could be yes. We have met before.
Yeah, I saw you, and I kind of discovered the whole physical side of Indiepocalypse, which I guess I hadn't met you in person, so I didn't know that you had this whole cool cassette world. And so yeah, that was really exciting, and then have been playing the anthologies again, so... But
they're cool things. As someone who's played through them all, they're cool things.
It's very exciting. I keep thinking I want to somehow convince my local library to
do it.
Have a machine that people can play some of the Indiepocalypse games.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Just go talk to them. Having I'm trying to figure that out. I tried getting into what you want to call it, different shops was unsuccessful. Weird how game shops don't want to carry games, but that's a whole other thing. I think to be honest, it is game shops are not, they don't have the same vibe as like an indie music shop or indie book shop would have, where they would have local artists putting their stuff. They're more like retro shops and of things full of things you know.
You know where I've seen more of that is in board game shops.
Right.
There's a board game shop near me, and they have a whole rack of zines and just all sorts of cool local stuff. And actually, the Asterism CD you bought was in there for a while, and you could just buy someone's CD in a random board game shop. So
it is
maybe
I mean, I know a friends of the show, Ash K, has a couple of things up in bookstores, selling games in bookshops. I think even
it's great though.
Yeah, this is me saying out loud to remind myself to mention to Ash to say, hey, if that's in the Beguiling, send me a picture if it's in the Beguiling, because I want to. That would be cool. As a fan of the Beguiling in Toronto, would be a cool thing to see. Hey, look, there's a little, especially if it's because Beguiling has a little Koosh shelf for people familiar with long-running Latvian-based alt comic publisher Koosh that I'm a fan of. Has a little shelf there, and I was like, oh, we should put that. Anyway. If people, I
do have a weakness if I'm ever around that kind of shelf to spend all of the money I have.
Yes, no, when I went to the beguiling, I got mostly like I got a lot of like an irresponsible amount of like probably 100, maybe 2 in comics and stuff, especially off of like the zine shelf.
Yeah, the zine shelf. I make a lot of zines, but I also really enjoy finding people's zines, especially when like local artists. And
Yes. Yeah, I have.
I always feel like I need to get it because I might not see it again.
Right. No, that is my. I'm like, oh, I have to like. How am I going to find this again? Will the person even sell it online? Is this the only place where I'll be able to read it? And a lot of stuff is also like, you know, to say kind of what I was saying, you know, in kind of the first segment, is great, you know. Just because it's not a hyper selling, you know, big budget release doesn't mean it's not very good.
I find that those obscure, like, tiny things which the things I least expect are the things that I most enjoy, is like often how it goes.
Yeah, one of my go-to eternal like top albums is the like iNako's like demo. And like you can kind of get a version of it on YouTube, but it blends the tracks together too much, so they kind of like you lose some of the front and the back. But I think I got it off of what it was like. I think it was called like If You Can Make It, I think was the website. I don't know if it's still up, but it was some kind of like, or If You Make It. I don't know what it was. It was some kind of like indie music publishing something. But also like I don't know what it was, but I remember getting a bunch of stuff off of If You Make, including that that demo. And,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked looking at this. I'm like, can I download this stuff? Does not look it. I don't know. I want to figure out what this site is, just like conceptually, because I'm fascinated by the idea of whatchamacallit, like curated curated platforms, like using just because the internet can have everything doesn't mean you have to have everything, even for like digital shops. And I'm into the idea of like curated digital shops.
I always love coming across like a little niche community are just like extremely happy with the things they know and share amongst each other, and I feel like I just kind of wish everything was like that it didn't need to be like, oh, there's one piece of media that is the best and everybody needs to enjoy it. It's more like acknowledge that we all have really weird taste, and there's not just like a cookie cutter way to enjoy things.
Yeah, and that's like, I think, and I have the feeling that most people are like, I like to think that most people are like that actually. And like, you know, saying in the previous segment that it's really just people who are too online trick you into thinking that that's not what most people are like. And that being online kind of forces you into that mold to some degree. Because if you get on there and you post about like, you know, X unknown thing, how much engagement do you get, you know? But if you know, you post about, you know, X very popular thing, it's more people like you're just shooting for like what is going to be relatable to the person looking at this right now. because who knows how long it's going to be on someone's page, and who knows how long someone's going to be able to see it. So you need to have people that engage with things immediately, and it's like, man, who cares? The eternal question of, man, who cares?
Yeah. Yeah, it only takes like one other person to like, they don't even need to enjoy the thing that I am enjoying, but if one other person acknowledges it, then it changes the experience. It's like, oh, okay, cool, now I can talk to this other person about it.
Yes, right.
I don't need it to be like everybody in the world.
Yeah, right. It's like I don't need. It's something better than trying to look up like a video or a blog about it to try to get like, oh well, I guess this is kind of how I'm going to experience it, because I don't know how to find someone to talk about it otherwise, and then it's in that way it's handy to have, just. Because also talking with one person, you also tend to talk about, I think, more meaningfully, that is, as well. Or more in depth, rather than being like, oh, I like this thing, I liked it too.
Yeah, I really like that. I really enjoy it's what I enjoy about this kind of format, is just having space to talk about the thing that I've enjoyed, or if I've made it or played it or whatever, and that's actually sometimes quite hard to come by, because I feel like a lot of the time if somebody asks me, have you played this thing?
Yeah.
And I say yes or no, that's all they were looking for, and then it like moves on, and I kind of want the space to talk.
Right, sometimes you need to talk to someone about Solitorobo, and people are not always ready to talk about it. And and sometimes you throw it out there, and everyone's like, what is Solitorobo? And you go, let me tell you about CyberConnect.
I've got to ask about CyberConnect.
So CyberConnect 2, as they're called, what do they most famously make? Like Asura's Wrath, perhaps? Of their original works is perhaps maybe their most well-known thing. But CyberConnect, of course, is they made all those dot hack games. They make a million Naruto games. But then they also make like Fuga and Tail Concerto and Solitorobo. Like there's probably a name for that world, but they have like a little furry world. That has all these furry people in it, and there's varying degrees of war and bad stuff happening, but sometimes nice stuff. Fuga's kind of more of a bummer, but yeah, and finding the other person to talk about those kinds of things is very fun when you can find those, or you find your friends and you talk about it enough until you convince them to also talk about it. That is me prepping to go, oh, you guys, City's pretty good. You guys should watch City. Trying to convince people to watch City. Speaking of stuff you make, though, you had made Third Crypt. If people aren't familiar, what is Third Crypt?
Well, it's like a little dungeon exploring game, except the dungeon is mostly sort of walking into walls and then getting little lines of sort of weird poetry about the dungeon you're in and the kind of hopelessness of wandering around a dungeon. But it was also made in Bitsy, which was like a point at which I was trying to make like a lot of small games that didn't really feel like anything I come across, and I just wanted to, I don't know, have these little places you could walk around and kind of like make my dreams
Right.
in some form was kind of what I was doing, and it was also part of a jam with some other Bitsy games that I was playing at the time, and so I was playing all these other things. And if people don't know, Bitsy is like a little editor that you can make your own games in the browser. Is free, and it's been around for ages now. Like
Yeah. I mean, the game yourself
8
you made.
years.
The game, right? The game you made is 8 years old.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, so that was like right at the beginning, but I think about it all the time, and I feel like it's one of those things that has just lodged itself in my brain, and so I was really excited to share it again.
yeah, it is. But and that's also like part of this project is that like games have a lifespan of maybe a few years, and itch games have a lifespan of 30 seconds. Culturally, it feels like if that.
Mm.
And I'm like, no, I want to, where I can help, kind of be like increase the lifespan of them, and make people think, oh, there is perhaps more to games than like what it is in any given moment, And
Yeah, and I just really appreciate that format. It's not just saying like, oh, here's the game. It's like also you're inviting the people who made the games to like have a place to share even just like a few words about it.
right,
Like in the case of the zine, like a page about it, and that is so rare that these like smaller things, or even like they can be huge things, but still just don't have like that many avenues to talk about themselves, or like to have like this adjacent context, I guess. It's like
right, because it's all your own platform that everything exists on,
mhm.
and everyone's siloed off into like their own individual platforms, and like, oh yeah, here I can talk about all of my games on my channel, and it's like, no, you should be able to. Other people should also want to talk about your games or engage with your games and think about your work more meaningfully and that kind of thing. And something I think a lot about, and it is what like preserves things to some degree. Is conversation, is what spreads things, is conversation. It's sometimes just like contextualizing things. And
Yeah.
in frame with each other,
Yeah, and I think like specifically with the kind of Bitsy stuff that I was making time, it was really the first opportunity I'd had to like see other people making things that were like bouncing back and forth the ideas that I was having. Like I shared that game Third Crypt, and then like I remember somebody else making a game and saying they were kind of inspired by it, and I'd never had that before.
right.
And I feel like it only happened because it was like this very like open way of making things that was like free and browser based, and so now like seeing Indiepocalypse, like I'm so inspired by all of the games that I see in Indiepocalypse, and I want to like make something and then like shout back at those people.
Right. I always like to think that in like worst case scenario, at the very least, each contributor gets 9 new fans.
Yeah.
And there is like so much cool stuff, and it's also interesting seeing like people pick up on developers that are like so far outside of like like I feel like you can see these, like, if you're really deep in there, you can see like the new quote unquote new indie or whatever you want to call it. Though I question is like, are any of these people who are in this like movement, and it's not like a concentrated like movement among that people are consciously doing, but there's just a lot of people coming up in this more experimental space and making all this interesting stuff that I just feel like it's easily findable too. Like, I don't know if you want to call it the NeoCities crowd, might be a way of thinking about it, almost. Because a lot of them have NeoCities pages. A lot of them have websites, like, or just like their own websites.
Yeah, it has been fun to see NeoCities coming back, and I feel like I need to get my NeoCities on a web ring. Like, that's the height of the sort of revival, is more web rings.
Right. The people bringing back buttons.
Yeah.
You've got a bunch of little buttons everywhere. And finding people through links, which is also very handy. Like, I tried my best to find a lot of people through, other people's links where I can.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that it's like you could fill all your time with sort of going from one thing to the next thing just based on like inspiration and like someone referencing someone else who like made them realize they could make stuff themselves, and like that you can follow those chains so far, and it's always really enjoyable to play these things that are sort of existing alongside each other.
Yeah, I am often like, I'm doing it right now as we talk. I'm dipping around through different people's links, following these link chains.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something I try to do where I can, of like, being curious. It is sort of, sorry, go ahead.
No, you finish.
I was just saying it's kind of an extension of what I was talking about last week, where I was talking about the idea of we need more, we need to more normalize people meeting the games on the game's terms rather than the game trying to meet the player.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of in the same way, don't wait for like the next game to be fed to you through like social media or whatever. Be the person to find the next game, or actively look for your next game that may not have any kind of like pre-existing like, oh, it doesn't come with 1,000 Steam reviews and overwhelmingly positive. It's just a game on itch.io that I think looks cool, and then maybe you don't like it, or maybe you do. Like,
yeah, and I think I don't know. Maybe this is I don't really like the itch feed. I feel like because the popular stuff never really appeals to the stuff that comes up, and so quite often
the fresh collection, as it were.
Yeah, but quite often that just like forces me to go and look for stuff rather than just be like immediately fed something I would maybe enjoy, and so having to like go and look around. But I think that's what's so cool about Indiepocalypse as well, is it's like
I already did that.
It is on the front. It is on the front, but it's also not the things that would be turned up.
It feels like, especially when it's in like the featured, it's in the featured selection. I think probably like I have the good fortune of the people or person at itch likes Indiepocalypse. so it tends to get featured every so often. I mean, it does feel like I am smuggling art games onto the front page of Itch a lot of the time. Because it does have, like, and, this is probably just a taste, the taste of the person curating it. And, adding games, the taste of the people adding games to that fresh list is that it's either, like, bigger releases that happen to also release on Itch, but also, like, a lot of very, like, gameplay-focused games, It's very, very, though like independent, still more like traditionally minded in terms of like straight ahead game design a lot of the time. And I feel like I'm smuggling freak shit,
Yeah, and doing it in style. I mean, it's always such an exciting moment when I see the new Indiepocalypse pop up, and it's just always so. It's the variety just like blows my mind that every single time can be completely different.
Right. Like that's, I mean, it always feels weird to like, because it feels like, to talk about it, polite, confidently is like doing a victory lap of aren't I so great? But it's really just these games are good. And there's just like an infinite number of interesting people making interesting games. And there will always be that infinite number of people. There, I started, like we said, I started 6 years ago. Someone just getting their game design degree was, 16 when Indiepocalypse started? That math checks out, generally.
Yeah.
People who are just getting into college and they're just starting their game design program were what, like 12 when Indiepocalypse came out? Like there's always going to be more people like making more games. It's a thing where whenever I see doom and gloom around games, it always feels like, oh, well, you're talking about the industry, because the medium, it's a medium. Like artistic mediums, like don't go away. They just maybe they become less profitable, but they just like don't just go away. I don't think, unless someone, maybe someone can prove me wrong, but I feel like writing has not gone away.
Yeah, I think especially more and more I want to be like trying to find ways of seeing the things happening like locally, whether that's like locally online or locally offline, but just like not needing to rely on that like wider sort of network of whoever's shouting about something, but
Right.
like finding the ways to know about something that only a handful of people have like experienced, but not because I want it to be a niche, but just because I am interested in just seeing what's out there.
Yeah.
And
No,
there's a lot more than just the things with the money to shout about themselves.
Yes. So you forget how much attention is just bought, which is most of it. Most attention is bought. But speaking of none of that, James, I got a couple questions for you. First up, hey, what's your favorite type of rock?
A fossil.
Are fossils rocks? Eternal question. Or let me ask.
I guess what I mean is there's a certain type of fossil where it's like the imprint of a thing was laid down, and then the new rock comes in and like takes on that shape, and then you get the rock comes out and it has like the shape of some ancient creature, and that is always very, very mind-blowing to me.
Yes. Right.
I should learn to the technical name.
Yeah, you don't need to learn a technical name. You got the idea across. The technical name is just a name that somebody invented. As long as you can convey the idea, do we need the word? It's nice to know sometimes, but you don't need it. And second question. Hey, do you have a favorite Toho character?
I feel like I'm gonna get this wrong, because I haven't really played any Toho games, but is Mario?
Marissa?
Marissa.
Are you talking about the little witch?
The witch.
Yes. Yeah, Marissa.
Marissa.
That is the little witch in the little dress, which describes the little dress is not an accurate Toho descriptor, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
They're kind of like the one with the little apron on it. I guess you would call that. I don't know if there's a technical name for what that is. The undershirt, the long undershirt, but it looks like an apron. Or is an apron? And now I have to look up pictures. Like, what is that thing? Anyway, I'm not gonna look up pictures to figure that out. You know what I'm talking about. Pinafore. Is it a pinafore?
I don't know, but I'm going to say yes.
Oh yes, I think it might. Yes, that is what it is. I believe. But perfect. That aside, James, thanks for joining me today. I learned, of course, what a pinafore is generally. I think there are different styles of them, perhaps, but this seems like most accurate. Maybe what I'm looking for. I don't know. Now I'm looking at the other pictures. I don't know, but I'm gonna stop looking at those pictures to try to figure it out and say, hey, we're gonna go on a final break, and we'll be back in approximately 1 minute and 41 seconds. Hey, see you later. Hello, and welcome back to Indiepocalypse Radio. That was Unwound with Lucky Acid. I did a little unwound after the talk yesterday or last week. I did a little unwinding with Unwound. I was like, let me. Sometimes someone's got to mention something for you to like start dipping back into stuff, you know. In the same way that I've been getting back into the Knife Man lately. Because of a Blue Sky comment from SCD Dreamer. But that all said, we're back with everyone's here. Hello, everyone. How are you all doing today?
Hello.
Hi.
Doing okay.
Perfect. So we are back hanging out, and we're just talking about what the hell are we talking about? The impossibility of curation, the benefit of local quote unquote community, which sometimes local community is like I think of mentally I always think of local community as scale,
it's more manageable,
right, smaller scale groups, whether that is people who are in the same space together or people who are like across the world from each other, but in a relatively small space.
Uh-huh.
And I think both are like effective, or just like it's handy to have a smaller group of people. I think sometimes, like helps you to some degree like stay more focused, And I also think sometimes these sorts of things are more. Especially like in-person local groups can be more approachable than, I don't know, going online and hoping for the best.
Like the fracturing of the interwebs and the people creating more of their personal homepages and such.
Yes.
It's easier to, we're more in that realm now, which is I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's, maybe ultimately a better solution. I think freaking using social media as we just got to cut the social part out of it and bring it back to the bulletin board. It's just got to be bulletin boards, because it is very handy to have a place where you can put a thing that a lot of people can see.
We had was it an IRC channel, I think, that was set up for like indie game discussion and stuff, and there were like 7 or 8 people in there at any time. So, yeah.
I do miss IRC. That feels like another world.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure there's still IRC
Right.
chats going strong, but
It definitely still exists. It's definitely, you can still, like, the technology didn't go away. You can still do it.
I think I used some for speedrunning last year. I watched these mystery tournament speedruns where, I mean, if anyone's looking for a completely random avenue to find some cool games, Mystery Tournament by Mystery Funhouse is...
Yes.
They play very strange games from everywhere, from itch and from the archive.org and all sorts of places. But I had to join an IRC channel to go on Mystery Tournament.
I remember seeing like maybe last year where they were running a collection, or not a collection, but just a curated, I suppose. They do their like yeah, and they were doing like the Commodore 64, just like really weird random, like one that was based on a Finnish or like a Norwegian TV show or something. I forget. There's a crazy game.
Yeah, it's just very... You would think like it would be a sign of a healthy medium if there were like publishers trying to spelunk all of those things and like trying to bring them and trying to publish them in the modern day, because
like
that feels
Criterion.
Right, or that feels like the person who's like crate digging at a record shop and finding philosophy of the world. Where are the people who are... I mean, I want to do that. I say that because I want to do that. I was like, I want to like track down old Commodore homebrew folks and be like, let me publish your game in 2025 because it's cool. If it wasn't all tied up in IP. I mean, sometimes it's a curse where it's tied up in IP, like that Prisoner game on the Apple II.
Oh. Is that like one that's based on the TV show, The Prisoner?
Yes, loosely, but it's probably... I don't know if it is actually like official. Now I have to wonder, was it actually official? Like, would it be tied up into licensing, or... Now I wonder if you couldn't just like scrape the serial numbers off and call it a day.
Maybe it's public domain now. No one else will publish it, so you could probably buy the IP for like $10 or something.
Yeah, well, actually, it doesn't matter. Can I? Is the Prisoner abandoned? Well, they made the AMC show. I think it was on AMC. But
I always got to do the remakes every year to retain the rights.
Yes. What's his face and his Warren Beatty and his
Dick Tracy.
His endless Dick Tracy. But
it's so weird.
Yeah, but you gotta do it. You gotta play the Byzantine game. But like Abandonware, is this whole world to explore of games of like, why are you don't need to remake something. I'm also obsessed with freaking, The Crime of the Abbey.
Oh, the Le Crime and Abbey Extensum.
Yes,
that one, right?
Yeah. I think it is the Abadia del Cremen. I should say this better because I can. It's just,
I don't know how to pronounce it either. Just butchering it.
But Abadia del Cremen, it's an old Spanish game. I should fucking track this down. Honestly, I played it recently, or played some of it recently on like the CPC version, which felt like not an ideal version to play it on.
Like 6 frames per second or something.
Yes, and it was developed for the Amstrad, so I guess that was the. But
can we also talk about how wild that is? That in like the 8-bit personal computer days, you'd have like you're getting 7 frames per second, and that's it. Everyone is going to play it at that rate, and no one's going to complain.
But let me tell you something. That game is just like fascinating. It was one of those things that constantly like it's one of the why is that not like why is no one bringing that and still publishing it regularly in 2025? That's why I think I mean, if you're not familiar, you are a friar who's investigating murders within an abbey, but you also need to obey the rules. You need to be a good little friar, so you need to like make sure you go to mass every day and go to dinner and stand in the right spot. While also
prayer maxing.
What is that?
Prayer maxing.
Exactly right. Or your what's the word for? I'm blanking on the word for it. It's like obsquium. I don't know how to say that word. Your obedience, okay, is Latin for obedience or subservience. Your obedience level goes down if you disobey. Like if you, like when the game starts with you having to follow a guy to your room, and if you don't follow him, that meter starts to drain. If you follow him too slowly, it starts to drain. If you're like missing, if you miss mass, you miss dinner, you stand in the wrong spot.
It's like a hardcore game, but with instead of like weapons and health bar and stuff, it's your
it's religious.
Your etiquette.
Yeah. You're right. It's religious ritual and etiquette. Yeah, it is fascinating, and like how many are there that are like that? How many games exist out in the world like that?
There, Elfie being in member in chat,
yes,
and I were watching the Commodore 64 playthroughs channel recently. Yeah. Or we've been doing it for like off and on, but anyway, yeah. There's just so many weird. I feel like it's more common almost on a lot of those early. They're more experimental, I suppose, before we had all the modern day affordances and game design classes and whatnot.
Gross.
But yeah, there's some cool stuff on there.
Yeah, I am still. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, it's a real shame sometimes that like some of this stuff is calcified as much as it has. Right.
Right. What is considered to be good design?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. As designers, also, like I feel like we, especially in this like hyper indie underground scene, think about that more often in terms of like what are those mechanics that are just lost, that are like, oh, everyone agreed we don't do that anymore, but
fixed camera angles.
Why? Yeah.
Which is
the tank controls that they brought back as a joke in the new Bubsy game.
Tank controls are fixed camera angles are good. I'm gonna beat that drum forever. Like fixed camera angle and tank controls make sense within the fixed camera angle world. But
yeah.
I think the culture has swung back around on fixed camera angles. I think they're coming back. I have faith in it, because they're very good. You can do things with them that you can't do without them. They're just an artistic choice. They're not a design problem that got solved out.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think
the idea of
yeah.
I was just gonna say the idea of like every film having to have a over-the-shoulder camera would be completely absurd.
Right. Or like the equivalent of like game design is like when something like hits off big and then everyone like adopts its philosophy as gospel. Imagine everyone doing nonlinear storytelling when Pulp Fiction came out. And you go, no, this is how you tell stories now. You just fragment them and tell them like non-linearly. It's like, no, that's a way to do it. And I'm sure, people did, of course, but it feels like it gets adapted, like it gets adopted more thoroughly, as like a correct thing to do when you're talking about games.
There's definitely the trend aspect of it too, where it's like, Doom kicked off all these FPS genre games and like that sort of thing, but it's there's definitely some elements in there, like if you look at the original Doom, that aren't present in any modern, even like the boomer shooters, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
There's still like unique qualities to them. And I think that's why games have not gotten any better since in 40 years. Games haven't gotten better in 40 years. They've gotten different. But I don't think art really improves very much. Like I think I think you can refine techniques, but I think like holistically an art form doesn't really get better. You get different movements over time.
It reminds me of like the cave paintings that are like at early animation, where they're all just like the flipbook frames drawn on top of each other on the same wall.
Right.
It's like, that's animation. Animation's been around for thousands of years, and
and animation has
Oh, I was just saying that probably evoked such an amazing, deep emotional response at the time, right? And maybe it still does. Maybe being in that cave and putting some fire there and watching the image flow through, maybe that fucking opens your mind to the wonders of the universe. Who knows?
Yeah. There's like I think games have a little worse sometimes just because of the software element to them that they have, where it's like seen often as like tech problems to solve, or you're making software and software doesn't always need to be creative, a creative outlet, software can just be like a collection of things put together that are good, I guess, it's collections of features. You can make a lot of games that are collections of features.
Yeah.
And then we lose the true culture of fucking. This guy has a Wikipedia page. I can find him. I can find Fergus McNeil. He's still writing crime thrillers. I could find this guy. I'm talking about, of course, the director of Town with No Name, which is truly like my called shot of something I would love to publish, because it rules so much.
There's going back to like that publishing thing for the I mean, I've had those thoughts too at some point where it's like, I wonder if this game, because I see other publishers doing it, like there's City Connection, for a lot of those old Famicom games, like they scooped up, there's like the IP buying, of course, which is on the whatever corporate side, but whatever, there's just like more of these publishers, I think, that are all thinking the same thing too. It's like, oh, there's all these old games and they're not, I mean, even some of them are like, well, the Three Stooges or something for like limited run, when limited run games was like, we're going to publish Three Stooges from the NES, and it's like, well, okay, I mean, there's nothing stopping you from that, I guess, but it's like, is it objectively a good game? Does it matter? I don't think so. It's just like they're publishing it because they can, and maybe the IP was cheap, or maybe someone there really liked it, or for whatever reason, right? Just like rediscovering old, I wouldn't call them classics, but classic games in a way. Yeah.
And I mean, there's always like I have my qualms with those sorts of publishers, mostly because
yeah,
they're all basically FOMO machines.
of course, yeah. There's that, like, that's, they're making their money, or they're making their tax write-off, and for some reason,
Like do they publish it on Steam as well, or they just publish a physical version of it?
oh, maybe both. Maybe like, what's it? The makers of Shantae that do like their they did the Clock Tower remake. Like, that's a
Right.
sort of different thing too, because they've gone back and like by hand redrawn some of the graphics or whatever. And
Right. And that
And
that was
made,
the thing. That's one of those things that's been like long waiting of like, why was there not like a U.S. release of the original Clock Tower for so long?
yeah, it's new to a lot of people.
Yes, yeah, and while simultaneously being like kind of a classic at the same time.
Yeah, and it was like stuck on the Super Famicom basically.
Right, and fan translated like forever.
Right.
Similar in the
The,
way of like, Mother 3, the eternal classic of weird that it is not released officially in the U.S. yet.
I don't know if it ever will. That's the thing, right?
Which
It's
is
like,
extremely like bizarre,
it's like it's got like anti-capitalist subtones, and they're like, oh no, people in Western countries will not like this at all, or something. It's
Yes,
like, what? But it's like, so obvious that everyone is clamoring for it.
right, and it's not even.
Elusive.
I love, I love this web that says forever physical, and then you can buy like 12 games. Almost
Forever, for as long as they have the inventory.
right. When I was just whatever a week and a half ago, I burned through a bunch of my coupons and bought like. It's the honestly I think it's got to be a problem with consoles and publishing on consoles. That's got to be what's keeping them down, and why they can't just publish stuff infinitely. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, in that they're not creating FOMO, and that it's a, list like the natural thing of, oh, I got to publish whatever, each run funds the next one. But I think if you lowered cost and published on PC, and I guess maybe people don't want to buy on PC, but I guess we'll find out. But
Yeah, that's the thing, though, right? It's like, if they're doing it as non-limited, then they're publishing it on whatever digital storefront, and it's like, okay, that's cool that you're like bringing something that was either stuck on a system or old or new to people or only in a certain language. Like, yeah, kind of going after those ones.
yeah, there is, yeah, like they're scooping up some Square stuff. It looks like a lot of Square stuff, which is, neat. But anyway, Gen 2 focus on a singular company.
The act of getting old IPs that are dormant and maybe only owned by one person who may or may not still want it.
Right. That's what I'm interested in, is reaching out to finding weird outsider art from forever ago and being like, hey, what if someone published this in the modern era and continued to make it relevant?
Yeah. So all games are valid, and a lot of them have cool ideas.
Yeah, or are just good, or just a front to back good. I think it is. I think that kind of like linear progress thought in games is going to wane with time, as tech has immediately progressed in like over a decade, if not longer.
So many of those games like the Fortnites and the loot box driven mechanics for games and the daily logins and all that. It's like you might as well just not make any progress because it's just like the forever games. So.
Right, and I'm talking even about like visual. The immediate an NES looks different than a PlayStation in terms of what the hardware is capable of, but like hardware capability has like stalled basically. I don't know how you improve it really besides load times. I mean, I guess I know how you can make everything look nicer, but like the diminishing returns on that are immense.
I think we're definitely at that point where people are looking for more stylized things.
Yes.
And it's like, it's more about the pipelines maybe instead of the hardware and the software enable the pipelines to be more like geared towards those styles, something like that.
Yeah, really just like user friendliness, and let's just get rid of consoles. Don't need consoles, honestly. I'm sick of those too. It's weird, it's archaic.
I do like my Playdate though that has the crank.
I was
weird.
thinking about I was thinking about Playdate. Talking about
don't mention
things
them.
Not getting better, but just getting different.
Yeah. As long as they don't try to sue me, I'm fine.
But I think the joy of the Playdate is because it gives you a new affordance or like a new input method or like, that's the thing that's joyful. Like every time I see a new console come out, they're like, we made the haptics better. I'm like, are they now good enough that I can do interesting games with them? No? Okay, well, fuck me, I guess.
Right.
Like, I want to do a game that's just haptics, and we're still not there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right. It is the technology. Like, what is the point of technology?
Presumably to make our lives better.
Right. Yes. or just to make it increasingly worse, but allow some people to make more money, perhaps. But let's not to get too mired in the weeds of this. As we were cresting 2 hours of the show. I'm going to start wrapping it up as it were. But before I go, does anyone have any non-promotional burning question statements, things that they need to say before we start wrapping it up and people saying where you can find your things?
No. Thanks for having me on. This was really lovely. This was a nice way to spend a Saturday.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh.
Yeah, it's been nice. My burning question is has the Indiepocalypse itself started or ended? Where are we on that scale now?
I believe Indiepocalypse is currently reckoning with its own Indiepocalypse because there are too many games within Indiepocalypse. That's the problem. How does anyone choose an Indiepocalypse when there are too many Indiepocalypses to choose from? If you're encountering that problem, no, that's always been an absurd notion. It is at best an absurd notion that says there's too much art, which was always silly to say, or it is perhaps more likely they let the rabble in, so I can't get I can't get paid for free, which says a lot about another thing, that's all really the Indiepocalypse. The term Indiepocalypse means is they let the rabble in, and now my privileged entrance into closed markets like Steam or whatever, now that's vanished, I can't succeed anymore.
Hard times.
The question, dear listener, to ask yourself whenever someone talks about Indiepocalypse, when the question comes up of there are too many games, ask them which are the games that are too many and which are the games that are not too many. And which ones don't you like that they're now, because people are not buying shitty asset flip stuff. It's not really like those things are actually crowding things out of the market or anything. So which ones do you want to go away?
Yeah. Yeah, it's all those other games that are like mine that I don't want there.
Oh,
so
of course,
that I get
right.
the attention.
Because mine's the good version. Mine is the good
Yeah.
monster collecting deck building roguelike. Unlike the other guys, which is the not good version. Mine redefines the genre, of course. Anyhow, apologies to deck building roguelike builders out there.
Oh no.
No, they know what they did.
Fully
Most-
aware.
Most of the time, it's the Call of Duties though, and those aren't indie.
Those are their own little thing. They're all different little things. Indie can be as creatively bankrupt as AAA. Putting that little having 20 people or 10 people doesn't make you less creatively bankrupt. Having one person doesn't make you less creative. And remember, if I can serve as an inspiration, if anything can serve as an inspiration to all of you out there, remember, even one person working by themselves can also be creatively bankrupt.
The size of your audience doesn't mean you can't be a hack. Is such a
Exactly.
fire. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
you can always be a hack. You can always be uncreative. You can always have no new ideas, even with your individual passion project. Anyway, picking on people aside, I don't know what the answer is, but I feel like to some degree games need more like criticism, or being able to dislike things is handy, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would love to see more, like, I don't have a better way to say this that doesn't sound pretentious, but
Right.
like artistic criticism of games.
Yes, right. It's why I love kill gameplay. It is conceptually very divisive. I'm a big fan of seeing people argue. I just like to see people argue. Like, I like to see because I like to see people have different opinions. Because like that's the fun thing about art is like it's being made by people with like completely contradictory and like incompatible opinions on how art should be made and what art should be, and they both can make very good things despite all these contradictions and disagreements. And I think that's interesting. I think that's the lifeblood of art. Anyhow, speaking of art, hey James, if your people looking to find your art, where can they find it?
I'm just gonna say my itch page, which is jctwizard.itch.io.
Perfect.
I've made too many things. I've created my own Indiepocalypse for myself, but
Right.
they're all free, so you don't have an excuse.
Right. The only thing is time.
Yeah.
Alex, if people looking to find your games, where can they find those?
Yeah, I guess probably on like my portfolio site has most of my stuff, which is just alexcarey.design.
Perfect. And that's Carrie with an E in it.
Carey with an E.
Which I think is a regular way, but now that I was looking, I was second guessing myself. Like, is that the regular, or is there a standard Carrie? I don't know.
The very like hack cocktail party bit is Carey, but no relation to Drew or Jim.
Right.
Yeah.
Which are two different spellings, I think. Right? Or are they the same? No.
Yeah.
Yes. Matt, hello. Where can people find your stuff? They're looking to find it.
Just mangotronics.com should have all the links and things. I should probably update that at some point, but yeah.
I mean, if it's still got the links, what else do you need? All you need is a pile of links, you know?
Just a link to other links. Yeah.
Yes. And you've done the handy thing that I often encourage people to do. Is like, you don't have to necessarily like buy a whole ass website. You can just get a domain and have it linked to like a NeoCities or a card or anything like that.
Yeah, it was really easy for me to figure that out on the pork bun is where I got my domain, and they just had like a single thing there that was like redirect to your page. And
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Most of them will do that. Very, very handy. Ooh,
And then,
unnamed Cannibal Interactive Project.
oh. Oh, you found the Easter egg.
I did find the Easter egg. Very exciting when some people like are familiar when people are like, oh, Purgatory Dungeoneer, and like, oh yeah, this is someone who makes maximalist freak games, you know.
Speaking of, yeah, those are good. Yeah, the 99 characters.
Yes.
in the party. Yeah,
all of it is very like, it's just like, right, and you know, in a world of like, you know, here's a person who is just like, no, I have extremely maximalist design, you know. I want to have a billion classes, a giant, like a million things going on, just giant spreadsheets worth of stuff.
I think the last update to Purgatory Dungeoneer was literally just the spreadsheet update. Yeah,
They just like added like a visible version of the spreadsheet.
just kind of like an actual spreadsheet exists now, like a link to the Google Doc spreadsheet with all the characters and stats and things, skills.
Perfect. The ideal approach. That said, I was alluding to this person. And, you know, of course, you can find all like a physical copy of Purgatory Dungeoneer and a bunch of other stuff at indiepocalypse.com. You can, of course, that's where you can purchase Indiepocalypse, and in addition to a bunch of other independently made video games sold physically. You can also, if you want to join, if you would like to be included in an Indiepocalypse at some point, might I recommend, who are these people who sign up? Like, I have 2 itch notifications, and I'll like, who is this person? I often check if people follow me, because a lot of times there are other creators, and then like just people who join, like, who is this person who joined 23 minutes ago, and I am like one of the first people they're following. Like, I don't know how you get there, but they get there. I don't know if they're just following things. Anyhow, indiepocalypse.com/Patreon if you want to subscribe. I am, maybe next month I'm going to actually try to post more about the Patreon drive and be like, hey, join it. I've already emailed someone who, when I started the thing, said, hey, I want to write something. Basically, I've decided that I do want, of course, to have people. I've fully decided that I'm going to have, you know, take pitches for people to write about games within Indiepocalypse, and then I'm just going to use the Patreon to determine how many of those I can publish a month. So if you want to go over to indiepocalypse.com/Patreon, I think my loose napkin math is that if I hit like the absurd $2,500, that affords me the money. That breaks even, quote unquote, which affords me the money to then just like publish like 3 of them a month. Which, you know, depending on how many games they cover, they can never keep up in terms of how many Indiepocalypse games are released. But I want more writing about it so that people can like search more, and they'll have like more to go off of. They will have like, you know, there's something I tried to do back in the day, but ran out of time as I went to more and more events. As 2 of the guests can attest, having seen me at those events.
That's always the challenge, is the time. Yeah.
Right. But also, there are other people who can write about them much better than I ever could. So I'm like, let me just pay these people who are like, rather than me, who thinks about games a lot, but also is not approaching them necessarily as like a critic writer all the time. But there are people who would do that and would do it better than I would. I will let them do it. So that's a long way of saying subscribe or whatever. But we're ending the show, closing it down, shutting it down. Matt, Alex, James, thanks for joining me here today. We're going to clock out of this show. Thank you all for listening, and see you all next week. Goodbye.
Thank you.